by the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart of Mary, one with Luisa, the little daughter of the divine will, I enter into the holy divine will. Come, divine will, come beat in my every heartbeat, come breathe in my every breath, come pray, adore, and reign in me, in the name of everyone and everything, past, present, and future, in, with, through, and for Jesus, Mary, and Luisa, in, with, and for all, that all may be for the glory of God and the good of all souls, giving to God as if all lived in the most holy divine will, united with creation, redemption, and sanctification, praying as one in that one eternal act, for the kingdom to come, reign on earth. Fiat. Book of Heaven, Volume 4, Part 16. November 22nd, 1902. Luisa is about to die, but obedience is opposed. On November 22nd, as I kept feeling ill again, Blessed Jesus came and told me, "My beloved, do you want to come?" And I, "Yes, do not leave me on this earth any longer." And he, "Yes, I want to content you once and for all." As he was saying this, I felt my stomach and my throat close in such a way that nothing could enter anymore. I could barely pull in a breath, feeling suffocated. Then I saw that Blessed Jesus called the angels and said to them, "Now that the victim is coming, suspend the fortresses, so that the peoples may do what they want." And I, "Lord, who are they?" And he, "They are the angels that keep the cities. As long as the cities are assisted by the fortress of divine protection communicated to the angels, they can do nothing. But once this protection is removed, due to the grave sins they commit, and they are left on their own, they can make revolution and any sort of evil." I felt placid, and seeing myself alone with my dear Jesus and abandoned by all creatures, I thanked the Lord from my heart, and I prayed him to deign not to let anyone come to me to bother me. While I was in this position, my sister came, and seeing me ill, she sent for the confessor, who managed by force of obedience to have me open my throat a little bit. And then he came out giving me the obedience not to die. Poor is the one who has to deal with creatures, not knowing the depth of all the pains and torments of a poor soul. They add greater sorrows to her pains. And it is easier to obtain compassion, help, and relief from God than from creatures. Rather, it seems that they get more incited. But may the Lord be always blessed, who disposes everything for his glory and for the good of souls. November 30th, 1902. Fear that her state might be a work of the devil. Jesus teaches her how to recognize when it is he and when the devil. As I was amid fears, doubts, agitations, that everything might be a work of the devil, on coming, my adorable Jesus told me, "My daughter, I am sun, and I fill the world with light. And as I go to a soul, another sun is reproduced in her, in such a way that, by dint of rays of light, they dart through each other continuously. Now between these two suns, clouds are formed that are mortifications, humiliations, adversities, sufferings, and other things. If they are true suns, they have so much power that by darting through each other continuously, they triumph over these clouds and convert them into light. If though they are only apparent and false suns, the clouds that form between them have the strength to convert these suns into darkness. This is the surest sign to know whether it is I or the devil. And after a person has received this sign, he can lay down his life to confess the truth that is light, not darkness. I have been ruminating within my mind on whether these signs are present in me, and I see myself so full of defects that I have no words to manifest my badness. However, I do not lose heart. On the contrary, I hope that the mercy of the Lord may want to have compassion on this poor creature. December 3rd, 1902. Disturbances with regard to obedience. Jesus reassures her. This morning, as I was in my usual state, and my fears continued, when blessed Jesus came, I said to him, "Life of my life, how come you do not let me obey the order of the superiors?" And he, "And you, my daughter, don't you see where the opposition comes from? It is the human will that does not unite with the divine, so that they may kiss and become one. And when there is opposition between these two wills, since the divine will is superior, the human will must lose by necessity. Besides, what else do they want? I have told you that, if they want, I make you fall into that state. If they do not want, I let you obey. But as for the obedience that I should make you fall, and I should make you come round without their coming, leaving this thing independent of them and all at my disposal, this is up to me. Whether I want to keep you in this state for 1 minute or half an hour, whether I have to make you suffer or not, this remains all under my care. And if they want otherwise, it would be wanting to dictate to me the laws of how and of when. I am he who must do things, and this would be wanting to meddle too much in my judgments and acting as my master, while the creature is supposed to adore, not to investigate. I was left incapable of answering. Seeing that I was not answering, he added, "This not wanting to persuade themselves grieves me very much. You, however, in contrasts and mortifications, do not keep your gaze on them, but fix it on me, who was the target of contradictions. And as you suffer them, you shall become more similar to me. In this way your nature shall not be able to move, and you shall remain calm and tranquil. I want that on your part you do as much as you can to obey them. As for the rest, leave it to my care, without becoming disturbed. December 4th, 1902, Jesus manifests the reasons of his operating. I was thinking in my mind about this obedience, saying, "They are right in commanding me this way. Besides, it is not such a great thing that the Lord would allow me to obey in the way wanted by them. So they say, either he should let you obey, or he should tell you the reason why he wants the confessor to come, to make you come round from that state." While I was thinking of this, my adorable Jesus moved in my interior, telling me, "My daughter, I wanted them to find the reason of my operating by themselves, because in my life, from the moment I was born up to my death, everything can be found, since the life of the whole church is enclosed in it. When compared to some step that can be conformed to my life, the most difficult matters are solved, the most tangled situations are unraveled, and in the most obscure and abstruse ones, such that the human mind almost becomes lost in that obscurity, one finds the clearest and brightest light. This means that they do not have my life as the rule of their operating. Otherwise they would have found the reason. But since they have not found the reason themselves, it is necessary that I speak and manifest it." After this, he stood up, and with empire, but so much that I became fearful, he said, "What is the meaning of that ostende the sacerdoti?" Which means show yourself to the priest. Then, becoming sweeter, he added, "My power extended everywhere, and from any place I was, I could operate the most sensational miracles. Yet, in almost all my miracles, I wanted to be personally present. As for example, when I resurrected Lazarus, I went there. I had them remove the sepulchral stone. Then I had him released. And then, with the empire of my voice, I called him back to life. In resurrecting the young girl, I took her by the hand with my right hand, and I called her back to life. And in many other things that are recorded in the gospel, and that are known to all, I wanted to be there with my presence. This teaches the way in which the priest must behave in his operating, since the future life of the church was enclosed in mine. And these are the things that pertain to you, though in general, but your specific circumstance they shall find on Calvary. I, priest and victim, lifted up on the wood of the cross, wanted a priest to be present, to assist me in that state of victim. And he was St. John, who represented the nascent church. In him I saw everyone, popes, bishops, priests, and all the faithful together. And while assisting me, he offered me as victim for the glory of the Father and for the good outgrowth of the nascent church. The fact that a priest assisted me in that state of victim did not happen by chance, but everything was a profound mystery, predisposed ab eterno in the divine mind, intending that when I choose a soul as victim, for the grave needs present in the church, a priest must offer her to me, assist her for me, help her, and encourage her to suffer. If these things are understood, fine. They themselves shall receive the fruit of the work they offer, just like St. John. How many goods did he not receive for having assisted me on Mount Calvary? If then they are not understood, they do nothing but put my work amid continuous contrasts, diverting my most beautiful designs. In addition to this, my wisdom is infinite, and when it sends some cross to a soul for her sanctification, it does not take that soul alone, but 5, 10, as many as I please, so that not one alone, but all others together may be sanctified. In fact, on Calvary I was not alone. In addition to having a priest, I had a mother. I had friends, and also enemies. And on seeing the prodigy of my patience, many of them believed in me as the God I was, and were converted. Had I been alone, would they have received these great goods? Certainly not. But who can say everything he told me, or explain the most minute meanings? I said this the best I could, the way I was able to say it in my roughness. I hope that the Lord shall do the rest by illuminating them so that they may comprehend what I have not been able to manifest well. December 5th, 1902. Luisa sees a woman crying over the state of the peoples, who asks her not to move from her state of victim. As I was in my usual state, Blessed Jesus communicated his pains to me, and as I was suffering, I saw a woman crying her heart out and saying, "The kings have joined together, and the peoples are perishing, and not seeing themselves being helped, protected, but rather stripped. They get lost, and kings without peoples cannot exist. But what makes me cry the most is to see that the fortresses of justice are missing, that are the victims, the only and sole support that holds justice back in these times most sad. You, at least, do you give me your word that you shall not move from this state of victim?" I don't know why, but I felt so resolute that I answered, "This word I cannot give. No. I shall stay as long as the Lord wants it. But as soon as he tells me that the time for this penance is ended, I shall not stay even for one more minute." On hearing my unshakable will, she cried more, almost wanting to move me to say yes with her crying. But more than ever resolute, I said, "No, no." And crying, she said, "So there shall be justice, chastisements, slaughter, with no sparing." However, as I related this to the confessor, he told me that out of obedience, I should withdraw my no. December 7th, 1902. France and Italy no longer recognize Jesus. Jesus suspends her from her state of victim, but she does not accept and fights so that the law of divorce may not be formed. As I was outside of myself, I found myself amid most thick darkness. In it, there were thousands of people whom that darkness rendered blind, to the point that they themselves could not understand what they were doing. It seemed it was part of Italy and part of France. Oh, how many errors could be seen in France, worse than those of Italy. It seems that they had lost their human reason, the primary endowment of man that distinguishes him from the beasts. But he has become worse than the beasts themselves. Nearing this darkness, one could see a lamp. I approached it, and I found my loving Jesus, but so afflicted and indignant with those people that I trembled like a leaf, and I only said, "Lord, placate yourself, and let me suffer by pouring your indignation upon me." And he told me, "How can I placate myself if they want to exclude me from them, as if they were not a work created by me? Don't you see how France has cast me away from herself, considering herself honored in no longer recognizing me? And how Italy wants to follow France, as there are some who would give their souls to the devil in order to win that point of forming the law of divorce, after they tried so many times and were left crushed and confounded. Instead of placating myself and pouring my indignation upon you, I suspend you from the state of victim, because after my justice has tried several times, using all of its power so as not to give that chastisement wanted by man himself, and in spite of this he still wants it, it is necessary for justice to suspend the one who holds it back, and to let the chastisement fall. And I, Lord, if you wanted to suspend me for other chastisements, I would easily have accepted, because it is right that the creature would conform to your holy will in everything. But to accept it for this evil most grave, my soul cannot digest this suspension. Rather, invest me with your power and allow me to go into the midst of those people who want this. While saying this, I found myself with them. They seemed to be invested with diabolical forces, especially one of them, who seemed enraged. As though wanting to turn everything upside down, I spoke and spoke, but I could barely manage to cast a few glimmers of reason into him, making known to him the error they were committing. After this, I found myself inside myself, with sufferings extremely scarce. December 8th, 1902. The confessor uses the authority of the church to keep Jesus crucified in Luisa, and to crucify her with him, so as to prevent the law of divorce. This morning, my adorable Jesus came and told me, "My daughter, today I want to keep you suspended without letting you suffer." I began to fear and to lament to him, and he added, "Do not fear, I shall be with you. Rather, when you occupy the state of victim, you are exposed to justice, and in addition to the other sufferings, many times you have to suffer my very privation and obscurity. In sum, everything that man deserves because of his sins. But as I suspend your office of victim, everything I shall show toward you shall be mercy and love." I felt released from my state, even though I could see my beloved Jesus, and I understood very well that it was not his coming that rendered the coming of the confessor necessary to make me come round, but rather the sufferings that Jesus would send me. So I am unable to say why. My soul felt a pain, while my nature felt great satisfaction, saying, "If nothing else, I shall spare the confessor the sacrifice of having to come." But while I was thinking of this, I saw a priest, clothed in white, together with our Lord. It seemed to me that he was the Pope, and the confessor was with him. They were praying him to make me suffer, so as to prevent the formation of this law of divorce. But Jesus would not pay attention to them. So the confessor, heedless of the fact that he was not being given audience, with extraordinary impetus, such that it seemed it was not him, took Jesus Christ in his arms, and by force cast him inside of me, saying, "You shall remain crucified within her, crucifying her, but this law of divorce we do not want." Jesus remained as though bound inside of me, crucified by such command, and I felt bitterly the pains of the cross. Then he said, "Daughter, it is the church that wants it, and her authority, united to the power of prayer, binds me." December 9th, 1902. Luisa is crucified with Jesus. The dangers of the law of divorce. As I was in my usual state, I found myself outside of myself, together with Jesus Christ, as though nailed with him. And since I suffered, I was silent. In the meantime, I saw the confessor with my guardian angel, who said to him, "This poor one is in great suffering, to the point that she cannot speak. Give her a little bit of respite. For when two lovers pour out together what they have in their interior, they end up conceding what they want to each other." So I felt my sufferings being mitigated, and first I told Jesus about certain needs of Father, praying him to make him all of God, because when one becomes so, God can find no difficulty in conceding to him what he wants, because he shall not be able to seek anything but what pleases God. Then I said, "Lord, what about this law of divorce? Shall men come to make it in Italy?" And he, "My daughter, the danger exists, unless some Chinese thunderbolt comes to prevent their intent." And I, "Lord, what? Is this perhaps someone from China who, maybe when they are about to do it, shall take some thunderbolt and shall cast it into their midst to kill them, in such a way that frightened they shall flee?" And Jesus, "When you do not understand, it is better if you keep silent." I was left confused and did not dare to speak any more, without understanding the meaning. However, my guardian angel was saying to the confessor, in addition to the intention of the cross, united to that of having him poor, "If you obtain this, you shall win this point, and they shall not be able to do it." December 15th, 1902. Luisa remains crucified with Jesus. Man is about to be crushed by the weight of divine justice. Continuing in my usual state, I found myself outside of myself, and I found my adorable Jesus, cast to the ground, crucified, everyone trampling upon him. In order to prevent them from doing this, I laid myself upon him, so as to receive upon myself what they were doing to our Lord. And while I was in that position, I said, Lord, what is it to you to allow those very nails that pierce you to pierce me as well? At that moment, I found myself nailed with the very nails that pierced blessed Jesus. He underneath, and I on top. In that position, we found ourselves in the midst of those men who want divorce, and Jesus was sending them many rays of light produced by the sufferings that he and I were suffering, and they remained dazzled and confused. I also understood that if the Lord shall please to let me continue to suffer, when they come to do that, they shall be humiliated and shall not be able to conclude anything. After this he disappeared, and I remained alone, suffering. Then he came back again, but he was not crucified. He threw himself into my arms, but he was so heavy that my poor arms could not hold him, and I was about to let him fall to the ground. Seeing that, as much as I did and tried, I could not hold that weight, my pain was such that I felt myself crying my heart out. And he, seeing the sure danger of falling, and also my crying, cried along. What a harrowing scene! And then, forcing myself up, I kissed him on his face. He too kissed me, and I said to him, "My life and strength, by myself I am weak and can do nothing, but with you I can do everything. Therefore strengthen my weakness by infusing your very strength in me, and I shall be able to carry the weight of your person. The only way to be able to spare each other this sorrow, for me of letting you fall, and for you of suffering the fall." On hearing this, Jesus told me, "My daughter, don't you comprehend the meaning of my heaviness? Know that it is the enormous weight of justice that I can bear no more, nor can you hold. And man is about to be crushed by the weight of divine justice." On hearing this, I cried, and he, almost to distract me, since before he came I had a strong fear that I might not be able to obey with regard to certain things, he added, "And you, my beloved, why do you so much fear that I may not let you obey? Don't you know that when I draw, unite, and identify a soul with me, communicating my secrets to her, the first key I place, that produces the most beautiful sound and communicates the sound to all other keys, is the key of obedience? So much so that if the other keys are not in communication with the first key, they shall sound in a discordant way. That can never be pleasant to my hearing. Therefore do not fear. Besides, it shall not be you, but I myself shall obey in you, and since it shall be up to me to obey, let me do it, without being concerned, for I alone know well what must be done, and how to make myself known." Having said this, he disappeared, and I found myself inside myself. May the Lord be always blessed. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 4, Part 16. Fiat. My God, I thank you for your lessons of today. Free me from living one single instant outside of your will. Have pity on me. Do not permit that I either know or acquire any other life except that of your divine will. Fiat et Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.